lovers, welcome to my channel. So I have finally decided to reread Hunger Games series before I get into the newer books of the series, that is Story of Snow and Haymitch. I read the Hunger Games series first time, I think it's been more than 10 years. And now that I started rereading the book, I can't believe how many details I've forgotten. Now that I have finished the book, I'm just surprised how the time and perspective reshapes the story and the way you see the characters and the story. I think this book doesn't need an introduction. Everyone might be familiar with the story either through books or through movies. But still, I will give a few lines about it. It's a wild dystopian story that takes place in the world where capital is an oppressive government rules over the districts, and as a part of the peace treaty, they organize Hunger Games every year in which each district has to provide one boy, one girl who competes with each other to death. And it's the story of Katniss, who is from District 12 and volunteers herself for the Hunger Games, taking place of her sister, who was initially chosen as a tribute. And this changes her life. Not just her life, but also whole world. Talking about plot and writing, now that I am rereading the book, I can see how writing is very crisp and clear without any decorations or too much details about the word or too much description about everything that is happening in the book. The crisp and clear tone makes it perfect for YA readers. The plot is a fast-paced, very tight, high-stake survival game that keeps you flipping the pages without any pause. As for the characters, I have a lot to say. Katniss is as sharp and fiery as I remembered. But one thing I noticed this time was that how normal she is. She wasn't really interested or really cared about how Capitol's treatment towards district is unfair and unjust. She's not that fired up like Gale is. She only cares about survival, safety of her family, keeping them alive. And that makes her very normal and human. She feels like how is going to help her. It is yelling or ranting about everything wrong in their life is only going to put them in a trouble. If I have to point out when exactly the rebellion in her started, it's when that most emotional part came, with what happened to Rue. One thing I really enjoyed, or one thing I really liked about Katniss is she wasn't trying to be hero or a lover or a symbol for anything or anyone, but she, at the end of the book, she ends up being one. And I also love that how good she was. She could have survived this game without Peeta or Gale. One thing I really loved about her is her amazing survival skill. Her adaptability is just mind-blowing. She keeps recalculating her approach in arena. At every step, she thinks about surviving the games. And that is amazing. That makes her pretty strong. Peeta and Gale surprisingly got less page time than I remembered. Gale is there only in the beginning of the book and through Katniss' thoughts. And Peeta was there in part 1 and 3. Part 2, he totally disappears. Not exactly totally, he does reappears, but very less than I remembered. The story mostly focuses on Katniss and she kind of keeps the story going. When I read this book first time, I didn't like Peeta. His stance was pretty neutral from the beginning, and I can see in this as well, his stance is neutral, but I also see that he knows what he was doing in the games. His love angle made Katniss very strong. It gave them sponsors they needed. It helped Katniss survive the games. But at the same time, I also didn't like how whole the love thing was dumped on Katniss' head. She clearly is not in love with Peeta. She haven't even thought about love. And she doesn't even want to get married or think in that direction. For her, familial love is most important, and that is what she wants to focus. I was also surprised to read that when she kissed Peeta for the first time, she didn't feel anything. It was only the second time she felt something, and that too was very complicated with her being part of the game, showing the audience what they wanted to see to get the sponsor and to survive, and also with it was clashing with her friendship with Gale. But one thing I can say, there is no firework that you expect from love, and I think that is because she was put into that situation. And to be honest, I didn't like this forced love angle in the book. And when at the end Katniss says she's not sure what she feels or she's feeling confused about her feelings, I totally stand by her. It's very obvious. It's relatable and very real. Because she's not given a time to even think about or process the feeling. Another thing I didn't like is Peeta's reaction at the end of the book when he gets to know that all scale scenes or everything that happened between him and Katniss was all for show. And how he was feeling very down and distant from Katniss. I think he didn't get what she really was going through. I wanted to shake him and tell him that, man, give her a time. You just dumped a whole love thing on her just because you were in love with her or have a crush on her since you were 5. That doesn't going to make her feel the same in just 5 weeks. She's not there yet. As for Gale and Katniss, when I read the book first time, I was in a Team Gale, and I pretty remember why, because he had that fire and he was action guy, not like a Peeta who was neutral for half of the series. He knew what he wanted in this world from Katniss, from for his family, from the world they were living in. But when I reread this book, I can see both Katniss and Gale were loyal and loved their family. They lived for their family, but they have also contrasting personality. I mean, Gale is all rebellious and very fired up about wanting a change in the world, while Katniss is practical. I mean, in the beginning of the book, she didn't care about anything that was happening until she enters the game. Now I will say I'm neither Team Peeta and Team Gale. I am Team Katniss. I think she would have survived this game without either of them, without that love angle, without star-crossed lover thing they pitch in. She could have got sponsors on her own based on her skills and being herself. So what I loved most about this book is Katniss' growth. I loved how she became from being cold and careless, only focusing on her and her family, to being starting to care, not just about the complex emotional feeling of love, but also about the world. Second is Rue. Definitely, this scene has to be the best part. This little character that has a very little role in the book ended up being the most pivotal point in the story. She shakes up everything, not just Katniss, but the whole world. And that scene was still touching. I remembered when I first read the book, I was crying like somebody my own died. And this time, of course, it hit as hard as the first time I read the books. But I was also paying more attention to the details around the scene. It was really amazing to see how it hurt Katniss so much, and the way she paid her respect, decorated her with flowers, and that sign. It was amazing. But I love this scene more in the movies than in the books because in the movies I could see the reaction of people watching the show. In a book, everything is from Katniss' perspective, but movies showed the reactions, showed how people are viewing her action and everything that is happening in the game. And that was the best part about the movie. Overall, reading the Hunger Games was like peeling back the layers I didn't know it were there. It was thrilling, thought-provoking, and layered-wide dystopian novel. And I'm really glad I decided to reread the series. And now I can't wait to reread Catching Fire. So that's it. Let me know in the comments if you have read this book or watched the movie, and if you are Team Peeta, Team Gale, or Team Katniss. See you next time.